Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We, on behalf of the Consulting and Strategy Consortium of XIMB, welcome you all to Stratonomics 2014. Constrat was initiated with the view of providing insights to the students on trending topic on consulting. Over the years, we have had various corporate leaders enriching our students with vast plethora of knowledge they bring with themselves. We also conduct faculty talks, knowledge sharing sessions, paper writing competitions, and live projects. Our major events include Stratonomics, Concilium, Maven, and Conquest.
Keeping this in mind, the topic for this year's discussion is Next Shoring, how this trend affects the global flow in a digital age. We have amongst us 4 eminent speakers who will be sharing their valuable insights on the topic.
Guests, welcome students, welcome my faculty colleague. Well, this topic is a very important one. As we see, 20 years back, someone would be reading about management literature, they would have been reading that companies were mostly trying to take advantage of arbitrage costs of labor and all. But over the last 20 years, as we would have seen, the cost of labor has been increasing at the rate of around 8 to 10% every year. Now, in the next 15 years or 10 years from now, the global demand or the consumption pattern from these markets, which is the developing markets, is expected to be around 50% of the total demand. Now, given that, where do companies now manufacture? So with this as a background, in 6 months back, McKinsey had again come out with a topic where Katie George, along with an Indian researcher who was there, and Lau Rossi, they came out with an article which has now spurred a lot of interest around the world on next shoring. Now they're saying with demand pattern changing, is proximity to demand and taking advantage of labor cost the only criteria where companies which are in the manufacturing sector should decide where to have their production plants? They're saying no. Apart from proximity to demand, they're saying proximity to innovation is also the key. In fact, if you see some companies like semiconductors, electronics, automobiles, where mostly the intensity is driven by R&D, these are the companies or the sectors where next shoring is now the mantra.
I thought I'll take the liberty to say that next shoring is probably going to give a paradigm shift in global flows. What I wanted to address here is basically the fact that in the digital economy, all verticals, all sectors are inclusive. The Internet of the Things is the basic premise based on which the digital economy runs. Okay, you look at multiple layers which talk about infrastructure, services, and customers. On one end, on the other end, we're talking about digital ecosystem, okay, with a base of resources which could be people, data, any of what you could think of. We see that digitalization is transforming the global flows. Digitalization is becoming the actual mainstream activity which actually is contributing heavily on the global flows. Knowledge-intensive flows are the ones which are increasingly dominating the global flows. If you look at most of the global flow, the constituents of the global flow, it is not really anything which is capital-intensive. It is not anything which is resource-intensive. It is not any of the other metrics, which is basically the knowledge-intensive flows, which are really capitalizing on the digital economy. And they are the ones which are contributing to almost 60 to 70% of the overall global. What is happening is also that today there are a lot of economists who are actually looking at game economy to see that using it as a predictive modeling, because they are bringing in almost a realistic, near to real life situation where they can actually do experimentation and find out, understand what theory will work and what will not work. So game economies are really becoming big. And if you look at digital tagging, is really going to be the way to go. Typically people, places, products, and we are talking about not just RFIDs. So digital tagging is something which is really becoming the way for the future. The most important thing which I want to talk about and which I want to leave it with you, and I'm not expecting any answers, is basically, are we ready for these challenges? The changing role of the corporate strategies, future-proofing tomorrow's value chain. With all these trends which are likely to happen, am I really ready, to come up with a new role of corporate strategies who actually take stock of all of these?
Something the intranet also at the same time, and this term is called continuous partial attention. So this attribute is very important for nearshoring. So keep it up. You know that in 80s, before 80s, we were doing all offshoring, right? So what happened after offshoring? There was onshoring, then it came to offshoring. So after offshoring, why did they go for offshoring? Why our customers want to do offshoring? Because of the cost arbitrage, because we want to basically create a different engagement model. We want to see what the process maturity, all that was part of it. But there are a lot of changes which happened over that period, that when customers want to take it back because of some reasons, maybe because of the regulatory compliance, because of the data security, because of whatever reason, so they wanted to have the proximity within the country or the near shore. So we call it near shore or reshoring. And the next thing which is coming up is nearshoring. So if you see, the whole thing is actually driven by the demand and supply in those geographies, which is actually driving that. Global economic changes, wage hikes, a lot of things are happening which are actually changing the whole business model. And obviously on top of it, there are technology innovations which are happening at the same time, and which are impacting the business, which are impacting the skill. So I call it X-shoring. It is X-shoring how the whole thing has evolved over the period of time. So we were, before 80s, customers were very happy doing the service there, and now are moved over the period of, I would say, last 30 years now, that we are moving towards a nearshoring concept, which is still evolving. We call it global new norm now. But important thing is that how are these digital trends, digital innovations impacting the whole value chain? I think that's very important for us to understand. So if I paint a picture of supply and demand, this is typically what businesses do. When you do a business, what do? You have customers. You are either a manufacturer addressing the demands. You are basically doing offshoring, whether you want to develop. This is the services part, second one, which is more on the flexibility, low cost skill set. And obviously on top of it, when you have got innovations which are actually addressing the new customers, the business. I think that's very important aspect of it. And why do manufacturers want to change their business? Because they want to reduce the cost of operations, ownership. They want to run it more efficiently, because the other companies are doing it. If they don't do it, they will not be in the business. And second is they want to be flexible, and they want to have the competitive advantage. They want to have a model where if the demand is, say, coming out more in China, more in LATAM, they should have ability to service those customers there. So that model has to be flexible. It cannot be that I have got a manufacturing plant in Texas. Now I have a requirement in somewhere in Hong Kong. So how are you going to do it? So nearshoring, what happens now? So supply is coming closer to the demand. That's what it happens. Offshoring is coming closer to the flexibility. That's how the gaps are bridged. Innovation is coming close where actually these things are happening. So if you see now in the previous slide, the run was smaller part of it. Now the run is extending to the model itself. And the change is a little bit shrinking. Though from the cost perspective, you will do the other way. You want to run the operations efficiently and get that money out so that you can spend in the change of the business. But from the coverage perspective, this is what is happening. So if I look at this now, you will see that the whole model now, whether it was supply demand, whether it is how I was doing my offshoring, X-shoring, Now nearshoring teaches me a little bit different. I need to move them closer. I need to have more flexibility. I need to have more adaptability. I need to have, and it has impact on the skill set as well. Go back and think, and that how you can play an important role. And as I said, these kind of changes which are happening in the industry are happening in I think once in 20 years. So you are at the right time at the right moment. So I'm sure that you will capture the moment, and I will take the questions later. I think that's all from my side.
I never felt that they are sitting away from us just because of the technology, the video conferencing, the chatting, the same time chat available on the notes. So you are always connected and you discuss as if the employee is sitting just across the table or just Skype and you are face to face with the guy. Demand and innovation has been coming up again and again throughout the whole discussion. Emerging economies, it's not only about wages or low wage market, it is about different issues like political stability, availability of skill set, focus on risk management, then risk avoidance. That is where the skill development is. You need to manage, you need to face. Today, countries like Bangladesh are not equipped to produce to those levels, but they need to face, they need to manage the risk to produce. They need to develop their skill sets. They need to develop their people. It's a collaborative development. If it is with the vendors, we do share our knowledge with our suppliers, with our vendors, and collaborate to develop them. Because it's a mutual benefit, it is a synergy that is there. Localization, that is where the innovation would take place in the field of technology. With this, I would say that these are my parting thoughts. We've already concluded, so global corporations need to be on ground. I would say on ground means actually on the ground where the high growth and demand is, developing and producing with innovation and skill. With these thoughts, I would like to say thank you to all of you for patiently listening to me.
So it's a privilege and an honor to come back to campus and be part of such a gathering, and really feel honored. The offshoring or the outsourcing industry, if you look at it, it has actually shrinked in 2013. So if you look at the trend, industry trend, the offshoring industry used to be close to $100 billion in 2012, and in 2013 it has shrunk by almost $16 billion. But if you look at it, it doesn't mean that the productivity level of the company has shrunk in any mean. They are doing the same work, but they're spending less money. If you look at the digital facts, currently the lot of applications are coming in where people are trying to reach to consumers and make use of their association a commercial association. And you will find a lot of avenues coming where people are just avoiding everything and directly going to the consumer and making it as a commercial association. So you'll find a lot of payment gateways, APIs getting developed. Similarly, social media is playing a bigger role, where you'll find close to 500 million people now using social media. The government sector, you will find income tax return. I will just take a very basic example. Income tax return used to be a Saral form in India 3 years back. You go and download the form, fill it up and file it. But now if you look at it, even the government is getting into the mode to connect the unconnected. Just to summarize, who will survive this race in terms of next holding is anybody's guess.
we can always predict what is going to happen tomorrow, but with the kind of uncertainty, with the kind of technological advancement that is happening, it is only time will tell how the industry will shape up. And it is changing every 6 months. There is a new development, and we'll have to just wait and watch. So I'll leave with this John Carmack quote, which says that an organization ability to learn, translate that learning to action rapidly, and will give them the ultimate competitive advantage. So with this, I will conclude this. Thank you.
Adopting changes to technology and innovation pretty well. We've seen Amazon trying to deliver through drones to its customers. We've seen Google purchasing robotics companies, including Boston Dynamics, which is a military robotics manufacturer. Even we've also talked about gamification and seen how Samsung through Samsung Nation is engaging its customers. But how do you convey, actually the changes in innovation is so much overwhelming. How do you, how do you convey the correct uses to the non-tech companies? How do they find the right technology mix for themselves? And as a services company, how do you convey it to your customers?
I'll take this question. See, if you look at our customers, which primarily I think I'm in the retail and CPG unit, so all of our customers, their customers, the end consumers, I would say, they want to be very close to them, right? They want to earn basically the loyalty, they want to earn the business. So it goes back to the differentiated services, right? So, customers have option to buy from anywhere now, consumers. So how do you attract these consumers? So I think one aspect is service, and this innovation comes to that picture. First of all, if you look at the online business, say if you go to the typical brick and mortar store, you have a very limited inventory. So when you look at the consumer point of view, so they basically have an option, but from the customers who are providing those services to the consumers, they want more innovation. So innovation is basically time to deliver. Same time delivery, for example. So where is they say that if the drone kind of services can be put in picture. Same mode of payment. People don't want to give you credit cards; they want cash on delivery. So all these actually requirements, which are actually differentiated services, they actually get related with the innovation part of it. And now you look at it, how does these customers who are providing the services in the stores or online equip themselves and know that where the inventory is? For example, if I want to provide that service, but if my organization in terms of IT systems is not there, for example, I don't have visibility to my supply chain, how do I say that I will deliver it tomorrow? If I know that who will source it for me, if I don't know it, I will not be able to commit that. So it goes back to the innovations which are related to the enterprise, related to the supply chain, related to the basically everything. So how do you promote the brands? It goes to the social media. So everything is so much related. And when you go to the business, when you basically really want to sell to them as a services company, this is what we tell them, that these are the trends which are happening in the market. This is what your competition is doing. For example, we're serving MRO business customers, and they are also doing. I don't know if you have watched the Circuit Stees of the world, which were earlier there in the market. They are no more up there. Best Buy had to go through a very tough phase, because of the Amazons. So I think all these basically, customers do understand that, and they adapt to these value-added services, I would say, to differentiate and help them out.
You were in the humanitarian field. I would like to know if if this could be leveraged in the field of education, or is there a current pipeline or a roadmap?
See, education, if you see it in India, it is hand in hand with education, because if you see all the government programs, they feed when they come to school. So education definitely will play a key role, and you can get associated with education, and with digitalization, I think this education can also make inroads into the rural areas and can bring in a change.